Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bridging the Skills Gap through New Jersey Community Colleges. I'm Vinny Civitello, Communications Manager for the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. With us today are John Radvani, Bob Rosa, and Ambar from the New Jersey Community College Consortium. A few housekeeping matters before we get started. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you tomorrow along with the PowerPoint for today's presentation, so be on the lookout for those. I'd also like to draw your attention to the questions tab. John, Ambar, and Bob would be happy to take all of your questions, so don't hesitate to write them in as they come to you. And I can't stress that enough. Be sure to type them in as they come to you, or you might forget what you want to say by the time we hit the Q&A. So now let's get things started. Ambar?
Good morning and welcome to all. Thank you for joining us today. New Jersey Community College Consortium was formed in 2003. We are a part of New Jersey Council of County Colleges, a 501c3 nonprofit organization in Trenton. We are created by the statutes, and all the 19 community colleges are our members. There are 21 counties. The 19 county colleges cover all of the 21 counties. Our main mission is to bring the resources of the 19 colleges together as a statewide entity. We are a single point of contact for all the businesses and other clients, including state agencies. Our focus is on statewide workforce development initiatives, anything from training an incumbent worker to helping an unemployed person retrained and towards a gainful employment situation. Many of our programs are directly related to job creation, and they are delivered by a county college near you. Our locations throughout the state currently number about 70, and we take pride in the fact that you are no further than 20 minutes away from one of our locations in the state. So all the 19 college presidents form our board of directors, and they manage our operations day to day. We have 3 full-time staff in Trenton and 3 part-time staff, and then we have several grants that we manage. About 7 staff members are employed. They are positioned throughout the state in various regions closer to the community colleges. Our philosophy is to partner with external companies and organizations. Most importantly, our model of services is to partner with employers, because employers, we believe, are the economic engines of the state, and they are the job creators, and we work with the employers and determine what kind of job needs they have, and then we design training programs and deliver them where they are. One of our biggest funders is our workforce systems, both at the state level and at the federal level. All our funding comes from, most of our funding comes from these 2 entities. So they are our very important partners. And then industry associations, which include NJBIA, which is holding the webinar today. We have a very long-standing relationship with NJBIA. In fact, one of our flagship training programs is branded with the NJBIA Basic Skills moniker. And of course, being a quasi-state agency, we provide training to the state employees throughout the state, as well as other government agencies. Unions are another big part of our training programs. We have relationship with a couple of unions, and we train their members. And lastly, but not least, nonprofit organizations also are partners with us, including state libraries and other faith-based organizations and social service agencies. New Jersey has identified 7 key sectors that contribute to the growth of New Jersey's economy. So most of our training programs are designed to cover job skills in these industries. Advanced manufacturing is something that is very near to our heart. We have spent quite a bit of our resources in the last 6 years designing several entry-level technician programs to support the manufacturing community. Life sciences is another area that New Jersey is very famous for, and we have several training programs in that sector as well. Of course, information technology cuts across every industry, so we have many different training options that help unemployed people as well as incumbent employees that can take advantage of that. Healthcare is one of the largest sectors in New Jersey in terms of employment, and all our colleges run several allied health related training programs that help get jobs. And of course, transportation, logistic distribution is another upcoming industry in New Jersey, especially with huge Amazon warehouses across the state. In fact, Amazon is one of our clients. We just completed a very first training program for them at their Robbinsville plant. So that's another sector. Retail, hospitality, and tourism is the 7th sector that New Jersey is proud to make part of their economic growth. And we have a number of colleges that have hospitality programs and retail training centers in the state.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bob Rose. My role within the Community College Consortium is, I guess, to keep the trains running on time. We, as Anbar just said, we offer a number of different program areas, and I'd like to speak to you about one or two of them over the next couple of minutes. One of the things that we wanted to clarify for you is that the community colleges are much more than traditional degree granting programming. We do lots of training for incumbent workers. So that means people who are existing employees of companies can secure training delivered by one of the 19 county colleges, managed by us in Trenton with funding that comes from the New Jersey Department of Labor. We have, as Anbar mentioned to you before, we have one of our programs is actually branded the NJBAA Basic and Employability Skills Program. The concept behind this training is that it is for businesses, for employees, 100% of whom have to be incumbent workers. We have other training programs that we do for people who are unemployed, and you're going to hear more about that in a few minutes when the next speaker on the panel comes up to speak with you. The training that we do for these incumbent workers is employer-driven. By that we mean we work with the business to determine exactly how the content of any particular topic that is going to be delivered is shaped and formed to meet that business's needs. I'm going to speak in a couple of minutes and show you a slide that lists the titles that we are funded to deliver, and those titles are all available to a company, and we can customize the content of that title to better meet the business's needs. So now you're looking at, I believe, a slide that should list course titles for you, and you'll note that a number of them are computer driven, Windows, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, etc. There's also communications courses. There are training we deliver in written communications and verbal communications. We've done classes in math and measurement, English as a second language, Spanish for managers, and a couple of other titles, time building, time management, and more. Companies use these titles in a variety of different ways. So the math courses, for example, we've had some companies that were countertop fabricators that wanted to cut down on the waste of expensive granite. Any of you who have granite countertops know the cost of putting in a granite countertop, and to make an error on a cut can be very challenging to a company. So we've done courses in measurement and math and measurement to help that company cut down on the waste and wasteful cuts. We've had far and away the the biggest topic, the most popular topic that companies request from us, again delivered by one of our 19 colleges, is Excel. It is far and away the most flexible of the software packages that Microsoft Office has. Companies use it obviously for financial planning, budgeting and such, but many companies use it for rosters, inventory control, scheduling, formatting. They might do their invoices on it. It might be a templated invoice that the company uses, all of which have Excel as the underlying engine driving it. Spanish for managers is becoming a growing topic as the workforce in New Jersey changes, and companies and the management supervisory staff are finding out that to improve communications, the supervisors who might not speak Spanish need to be better informed in the language of many of their workers. So we've seen companies secure through us Spanish training for the supervisory staff. And as I said, there's one of the things that we do, and I mentioned to you before, is that we customize the topic. So a couple of examples of how we might do that. Excel is an easy example to give of customization. If a company has templated invoicing or templated documents that are Excel based, what the company would do is provide that template to the instructor through the college. The company would remove the proprietary information, and then the instructor would use that document to teach the skills, formulas, etc. that are embedded in Excel. So the workers are learning Excel using a document that they see and work with every day. Another example of customization that we've done, we had a water valve manufacturer a year or two ago that wanted to do some training in shop floor safety. Now that's not an approved title that you saw on that list that was up on the slide before, but what we were then able to do, working with the company and the college's instructor, the company made its safety consultant available to the college. The college delivered a class in verbal communication, and all of the underlying principles of a verbal communications class were adhered to and addressed within the course, but the content of every exercise was about shop floor safety. So for example, a student might have had to stand up in front of the class and give a 2-minute or 3-minute presentation on why the water valve had to be turned to a particular setting at the end of a shift, or why it's important to not leave open cans or tools out on the shop floor. So that all of the content that came and was delivered under that class came from this company's safety consultant, but it was delivered adhering to the principles of a verbal communications class, so students used and built on those skills. We've done some other customization in the area of sales, where people needed to write up promotional materials. So we've done content in, excuse me, we've done content that was a writing-based course, but also embedded PowerPoint into it so that companies could take the skills of PowerPoint to do sales presentations and at the same time learn the principles of good salesmanship. We've done a variety of those things, and the idea is that, again, that it is employer driven, So everything we do is driven by what does the employer need. Our colleges will frequently meet with the business, talk about what their objectives are, and then build the class accordingly. One of the things that's invaluable in this program is that it is grant funded. All of the tuition and all of the materials are paid for by funding that comes to us from the New Jersey Department of Labor. And it's important to note that this is a payback in the form of we're all paying for it anyway. If you look on your pay stub, you'll see that a small amount of money goes to the unemployment insurance fund. Well, about 20 years ago, New Jersey Department of Labor had a fantastic idea to invest some of those unemployment insurance dollars back into training the workforce so that workers would get upskilled and presumably jobs would be saved and maintained in the state. So there's a small amount of money gets spun out of that fund. It goes into a department within labor, and then we apply for those funds. Those funds are then used to underwrite the tuition and the materials to pay for the courses that are delivered by the college or colleges. There are two formats that we use to deliver these courses. Depending upon company size, and the reason why company size comes into play because there are certain rules and regulations that we have to adhere to secure the funding. But companies that have fewer than 10 employees can take a course at a community college. We call those open enrollment. One of the things that was very helpful to us in our relationship with the NJBIA was that this program had existed for a number of years, as I said, but the opportunity for small businesses, companies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees, were always shut out of applying for funds because they couldn't meet the Department of Labor's requirement of having 10 students per class. We created this open enrollment opportunity, and we still have to hit the number of 10 students, but we do that by aggregating number of businesses. So a class that's taught at a community college, there will be 10 people in the class, but it's entirely possible that 10 of them are from all different businesses. And we then do the assembly in the background to meet the grant requirement. The classes that are taught at a company site, which is the most dominant delivery pattern that we have, are the ones that are customizable. In order to have a class taught at a company site, there needs to be a minimum of 10 employees taking that class. And that's the content where we customize. The classes that are taught at a community college are workforce-based, but are generic in nature. The percentage of these, we're having a technical problem here, but I'm trying to advance the slide and it's not happening. The percentage of these courses is approximately 70-30. So we just got it fixed. 73% of the courses that are delivered at company sites, of our courses are delivered at company sites, and about a third, 27% are delivered at the community colleges in that open enrollment format. So a little bit of history. I can tell you that I believe, anyway, that this might be one of the best kept secrets in the state. We've been doing this now. We're in just beginning our 11th year delivering this program. Just a shade under 11,000 classes have been delivered. And those classes have been delivered to over 8,000 different businesses in the state. I said it's a best kept secret because if my memory serves me correctly, NJBIA has 22,000 business members, and we've served 8,000 businesses, but that is 130,000 people trained. So we're having some significant penetration at the worker level, and the businesses, those 8,000 businesses, have realized a tremendous saving from their own professional development budgets in order to deliver this training. But again, 8,000 out of 20,000, it is still, I think, a well-kept secret. And the funding, as I said, we're starting our 11th year. We've had just over $18 million in funding has come to us and funded and funneled through this program. So that's $18 million worth of training delivered to the state's businesses that the Department of Labor and our tax dollars paid for to manage this program. You're now going to hear from John Radvany about the training programs that we have put together for the unemployed.
Good morning, everyone. John Radvany with the New Jersey Community College Consortium. I am a program manager, and as Bob has mentioned, one of the primary missions, if not the integral mission, is to assist employers with their hiring needs by bridging the skills gap through relevant training. But another portion of the mission is to also help the unemployed. And I was specifically brought on to help manage the Ready to Work program, which was launched in November of 2014. The Ready to Work program is designed to connect employers with long-term unemployed or underemployed workers. Unemployed or underemployed long-term is defined as more than 6 months, which is a special category in this type of situation. And there was a chronic problem in New Jersey with long-term unemployed. So the consortium crafted a grant application to the U.S. Department of Labor, and were quickly awarded the funding, which was in the amount of $10 million for specifically STEM category jobs, which I'll speak about in a second. The state also contributed an additional $2 million to this effort, which covered jobs that fell outside of the STEM type positions. The funding for the federal program, as I mentioned, covers 4 targeted industries: advanced manufacturing, life sciences, information technology, and some mid to high level healthcare. So if a job seeker was either coming from or going into one of those 4 industries, the federal funding that we have available would help assist them in getting back to work. If, on the other hand, someone came from an industry that falls outside of those 4, and these are some very typical ones: financial services, the retail, hospitality, tourism segment, transportation and logistics, and some lower level, entry level healthcare, the state funding would cover those types of services that we can offer. And again, the goal is to help people re-engage into the market and basically get hired. The Ready to Work program, in terms of services that we offer, does contain several phases. The initial phase is an assessment process. We have partnered with 2 organizations, Learning Resources Incorporated and Educational Testing Services. These entities offer assessment tools, and once a candidate is deemed eligible, they are able to take advantage of these tools. There are a series of video vignettes, usually work-based oriented, and then there's a series of questions that are asked, and then as the candidate answers the questions, they're evaluated, and this oftentimes helps a candidate identify strengths and weaknesses that they may have, so that additional training can be focused in on that to help them basically in their professional career. We also offer career counseling, and this is facilitated by regional program coordinators that are located throughout the state. We have 5 coordinators that are responsible for specific counties. So if an individual lives in a particular county, then they're basically managed by that counselor. And this is a one-on-one relationship. So we are able to offer this type of personalized service, if you will, to help that candidate identify their career pathway in order to be successful in re-entering the workforce. We also offer a 2-day workshop, which is available to all eligible candidates, and it covers the basic resume writing, interviewing, and social media help. These are all important job search skills that all candidates really need, and we make it available to them through professional consultants that are on staff through the community colleges. All of these workshops take place at the community college level, and it really helps them get started more or less into our program. As they identify their pathway in terms of either continuing on with their present occupation or transitioning to a new occupation, we also have a segment of our grant which covers job training. So if it is in one of the 4 target industries that I mentioned earlier, we have training available through the community colleges to help basically help them acquire new skills, so that when an employer asks them, even though they've been out of work for 6 months at least, the common question would be, well, what have you been doing? This is an excellent way to answer that question. They are upgrading their skills in a particular area and becoming more competitive. This is fresh training that shows that these people are engaged and are very interested and very passionate about returning to the workforce. The funding is a soft cap of $4,000, and that generally will cover most any training in the community college at the non-credit professional development level. And many of our candidates have taken advantage of this, and many have been successful at re-entering the workforce as a result of this. We also offer job placement services. We, as a candidate, all of our candidates receive daily job leads, which are provided through the Indeed site. Many of them are familiar with Indeed. But this is a fresh, every day these jobs come in, and they're able to apply directly. It's one of the sources of information that we provide our candidates. I often tell our candidates that there is no magic bullet in this business, that it's a series of resources that are made available to help them return to the workplace. We also receive calls from employers directly looking for specific skills. And if that's the case, we can do a filtered search in our candidate pool to identify people that have the skills that these employers are looking for. So as an employer, if you have openings and you would like to search our database through our program coordinators, that's easily done, and I encourage you to do that. As I mentioned, the The job posting and candidate referral is an important part of our program. We also recruit and pre-screen our candidates for our employers. So we're not sending over 100 people for one job. We do a lot of the pre-screening so that we take a lot of that out of the realm of the employer. So they're only looking at candidates that that are qualified for these positions. The pre-employment training I mentioned earlier is available through any of the 4 target industries. If a candidate is coming outside of those 4 industries, we have funding provided through the state of New Jersey, again, trying to help them re-enter the workforce with the pathway that they have pursued and will be pursuing. A really important part of the program, which has been highly successful, is the OJT program, also known as the on-the-job training salary reimbursement. The way this program works is if one of the employers based in New Jersey is interested in hiring one of our candidates, we can offer a salary offset of up to $10,000 or the first 6 months of their wages based on the number of employees in that organization. And many times this is obviously a highly competitive advantage to other job seekers that do not have this benefit. And what it means to the employer is that they can hire one of our candidates and give them a chance. Give them the opportunity to earn their way, to get their foot back in the door, and we will reimburse that employer on a graduated scale, as I mentioned, up to $10,000 per candidate. And this program has been highly successful. We've written over 300 OJT agreements, and it's really been an excellent tool to help these folks get back to work. The other thing we're very proud of is our overall outcomes. And the New Jersey Ready to Work program was one of 16 states in the nation to receive this funding. New Jersey's was at the top level in terms of overall funding dollars, which was the 10 million I mentioned earlier. We have to date registered over 8,000 long-term unemployed or underemployed job seekers, which is #1 in the country. We've also helped place or help these job seekers return to work 1,379. Again, this changes practically every day, always on the upside. And these results, again, are leading the nation. We have helped to serve 987 businesses in New Jersey, because one of the rules of the grant is that the employer must be based in New Jersey in order to take advantage of our services. And the bottom line to employers is that we have helped provide $2.3 million in OJT salary reimbursements to employers directly, which has helped these 1,379 job seekers return to work. Now I'm going to turn things over to our moderator. And,
thanks, John. So thanks. It looks like we have a couple questions already, but I want to give everyone a second to type in anything they have. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to stall a little bit of time and remind you about the handouts tab. I used to get a lot of questions from people about how they download the slides, but ever since I started stalling time explaining this, that's gone down. You just open up your tab where it says handouts, and it's right in there. I think it says NJCCC. So that's that. There's also the questions tab. If you have a question and I see people using it, check out the questions box, type your question in right there, and our guest will answer it. Don't be shy. You're going to get a survey when this is over asking how you liked the webinar. And whenever someone says something like, I wish they touched on X, I always ask myself why they didn't just ask the question. You have 3 experts here, so take advantage of them. So with all that out of the way, let's jump right into our first question that comes from Linda, who would like to know, are there any financial disclosures I have to make?
And the NJBIA Basic Skills Program, the data that is collected from the company is fairly simple and straightforward. We are required to report to the Department of Labor the company's name, address, and tax ID number. Companies are required by the Department of Labor rules to be currently up to date and compliant with all their tax obligations in order to be eligible to participate. Beyond that, there are no other applications.
Cool. John, while you were talking, Ken asked, how does your organization define mid to high level healthcare?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, and we do see that from time to time. The grant, the federal grant now, which is the mid to high level, we categorize that as a wage level. And what we have established is if the job pays at least $15 an hour or higher, that would qualify as a mid to high level healthcare position. There are a lot of healthcare positions that are open. Many job seekers are taking these, but they are at a wage below the $15 an hour, and that would qualify under the state program. So that's the difference between the two grants. The federal is 15 and up. The below 15 would fall under the state program.
Excellent. We had a couple questions that all kind of ask the same thing, but let's go with Jacqueline's. Jacqueline asks, how would I connect with a program coordinator?
The easiest way is to use one of the email addresses that are on the final slide. If you send them to me, this is Bob Rosa talking. If you email me your question, your information, I would filter it and make sure that you got connected with. If it's NJBIA Basic Skills, you would stay with me and I would help you. If it was a ready to work related question and application, etc., I would get you connected to John. So the easiest way is to just send an email message to one of us asking for assistance, and we'll be happy to get you started.
So you can also go to our website, njworkforce.org, and there is an inquiry form there. If you forgot our email IDs here, you can just go to our website at www.njworkforce.org and fill up the contact form there.
Excellent. So if you asked a question varying somewhere in the line of how do I sign up, that was the answer to all of those. So thank you for everyone. Jennifer asks, what category would drawing/design/utilizing AutoCAD fall into?
That's another good question. And the way we would answer that is if the position involves software, IT, designing using a computer, they would all be considered under the IT segment of our federal grant, and all the services that could be provided would be using the federal funding. Incidentally, the two grants are very similar in nature, except that they are broken out by industry, but the resources to support all of the services are virtually identical. That includes the training and also the OJT. So.
This is Bob speaking now. The answer to the question about training for employees in the area of AutoCAD and design and such is a little bit nuanced. Under the NJBIA Basic Skills Program, neither of those titles would be eligible for that type of funding. However, those titles are fundable under grants supported by the Department of Labor that either us or any of the 19 colleges could help write on behalf of the business. There's no charge fee for the grant writing, and then the company could request funds directly from the Department of Labor given to that company to train on those higher skill level type of areas. So it's very doable, and we can help point you in the right direction, help you get started doing that.
So Mike had a question, and I could actually answer this one because you did touch on this before, but it's always good to have a nice little reminder. So he asks, can training be done at my company?
The answer, Mike, is absolutely. About, I think I said 70% of the training that we do now is at company locations. The only requirement there is that there is a minimum headcount that has to be provided. And that training, by the way, can be any hour of the day. We have delivered English as a second language classes at companies at 6 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, basically on the hip of a shift change for a company that runs 3 shifts. We've delivered customer service classes at 3 o'clock in the morning at a hospital. There really is no limitation on when training can happen. It all is completely 100% employer driven.
Cool. Kathleen asks, I have multiple locations at my company. What can I do to get training at those?
This is Bob. Kathleen, happy to answer your question. The one driver for eligibility is that the workers must be domiciled in the state of New Jersey. A company can have multiple locations across the state, in which case all of those employees would be eligible. If the company had locations in out of state, possibly in Pennsylvania just across the river, or New York, or just across the northern boundary, say in Rockland County, which we've encountered, the New Jersey workers who are domiciled in New Jersey would be eligible. The workers out of state would not be eligible. However, the way we have helped companies do that, take the northeast corner of the state, for example, and the Rockland County example I just used. We've built a class. We've had 10 eligible people who are domiciled in New Jersey, so they're the qualifying people to help the funding happen. And then the extra seats that the class can support, there have been people from outside the state who have filled up some of those seats. They're not reported to labor because they're out of state, but we use enough eligible people to meet the Department of Labor funding requirement. So multiple locations, again, if it's all in New Jersey, everybody's eligible. If there's enough people at any one location, we could deliver the same content at a location in any county. And if the numbers don't support that, then one of the things companies do is they might pick a neutral location, say a community college within a region, and the class would be delivered there, and the workers from the different facilities would filter in from their counties into a central regional delivery. So anything's possible, and we're happy to help you do that.
Cool, that's all the questions we have, but I'm going to throw one out here just to give people one last chance to type anything in that they might have. So when you say domicile, the first thing I think of is the employee's home. Now, I realize that's not what you're talking about, but I want to get a clarification. So you're talking about where the company's location is, doesn't matter where the employee lives, correct?
Right. I probably should have been clearer about that. When I say domicile, I'm not talking about where the worker lives. I'm talking about the address they report to for work.
Excellent. So nobody snuck anything in while I was doing that. So that looks like all the questions we have. It's as good a time as any to bring things to a close. So don't forget, all of you will be receiving a recording of today's webinar and the PowerPoint slides via email. And when you close out of the webinar, a survey will come up on your screen that we hope you'll fill out so we can understand how best to provide you important information in a webinar format. Our next webinar, Workers' Compensation Experience Modification Rating, what it is, how it impacts you, and how to improve it, will take place Wednesday, October 25th. So until next time, for John Radvany, Ambar, and Bob Rosa, this is Vinny Civitello thanking you for being with us this morning and wishing you a good day.